My name is Boyd Smith. I'm the current curator here at the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum, located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We've been open since July 30th of 2020. And basically just going to speak to a few facts of what our museum represents. We're one of 32 museums that's in the Olympic Movement Network. We house 60,000 square foot building with 13 galleries. We use a narrative perspective as the museum. The story is told from 1896 to the present of both the Olympic and Paralympic movements and how those basically got started off in sports. We currently have over 500 items on display, which is always revolving in this period of 125 years worth of Olympic and Paralympic history. With that being said, a lot of our niche is known for basically having the largest medal and torch collection in the world. We're one of two. We have everything from the present, from the first U.S. medal won by the first gold medal, that is, and then also from one of the first torches in the 1936 Berlin Games to the present. Our museum tends to grow every 2 to 4 years, knowing that our history is not static, it grows. Knowing you have the Winter Games and the Summer Games, we take in all that content and basically evolve our museum moving forward with having flexible capabilities of in and out different types of artifacts, as well as using technology to repeat the history that's been done over time. We kind of think of ourselves as not kind of like average museum because we cover different types of things. Usually that involves the fashion, either the pin collection, along with the torches and medals. Also the sports equipment that we use and the technology, which is advanced over the years in sports of how teams are competing with one another. So those are some of the things that we tend to highlight as well. The Paralympics history, a lot of people didn't know about it, but we're glad to highlight that particular area where people can know how the Paralympic movement started, who were the first medalists, and who continues to strive and push that movement too as well. A lot of our collections are either loans or donations, and they come from either private collectors or either our sister partner, which is the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and either athletes or either national government bodies who are in specific sports. They tend to either do either loan or donation with us too. Throughout time, we definitely have a broad collection of different things. So again, kind of following like the pop culture of history and the sports world of the Olympics and Paralympics. From there, you have different types of training technology and different type of fashions that are equipped of creating higher speeds or either more flexibility and movement of the body. So it's pretty interesting of how the use of technology has advanced in the sports world too, just to create a higher sense of competition. With that, we also use like modern technology as a way to keep the content inclusive. So for every type of disability, we have some type of feature where people can understand and hear the story of the movement. We also have different types of visual factors as well too, sensory devices to help people cope with different types of disabilities with that. But overall, the perspective of being a curator here at the museum has been lovely because we basically can deal with past content as well as relevant content, but it's still all in the same subject matter, which is the Olympic and Paralympic movement. And again, our content tends to grow every 2 to 4 years. So along with that, we have build our medal and our torch collection over the years, as long as the Olympic and Paralympic movement is still in existence. And that's pretty much the sum of it.
Okay, great. Do you want to speak a little on, first of all, your background? When you came to the Olympic and Sports Museum, you came from a curatorial background?
Correct. So I did curator work for the Black Culture Center at Purdue University, and also worked with a couple of local museums there in that area. Basically been doing curator work for over 10 years. Actually started out doing my own art gallery, and it kind of just evolved from there. Then I got involved with technology, so I wanted to see how technology was basically on the prime of now is more included into museum and culture spaces as the way to tell stories or to give that feeling of expressionism too. So it's been pretty cool, I should say, to look at how technology involved and became more involved in movement and gallery spaces.
Okay, and then doing a sort of comparison between your previous curatorial work and what you're doing now at the Olympic and Sports Museum, can you speak to us a little bit about some of the similarities and differences, specifically as it pertains to audience engagement?
Yeah, so one thing I've noticed about the museum is that, a lot of people come to look at the main points, which are the Olympic torches and the medals. But w- I've noticed that the art movement was very strong in Olympic Games, and is really based off culture. Even with Paris coming up in 2024, they're really hiding up the art scene because art is part of the Olympic Games where they're from. On top of that, being here and having Leroy Neiman Prince here and how he basically captured those movements through his artwork has given our viewers and the guests a different sense of the art world involved with the sports too. So basically, he based this documented illustrations throughout the time of what was going on in the movement, even especially during the Munich Games. So we have a collection of him actually just sketching and drawing what was going on with the standoff and the police and people looking on, even with the media team, what was going on at that time. And that I think is kind of like a perspective given with a different form of media that's connected to the art world as well as the sports movement too in the games.
I think it's absolutely fascinating that you brought up this intersection of art and culture. That's something that we at Cake have tried to focus on before, and especially now taking the opportunity with the upcoming World Cup
Right.
to try and showcase elements of art and culture, and where it intersects with these sporting events. But something else that you brought up that was really fascinating to think about is this fashion component,
Right.
that myself included, a lot of people probably aren't thinking about or realizing, and especially bringing in the technology into the fashion that contributes to sporting events and sporting success.
Right.
I think that's probably something that is very interesting for audience members to come and learn about as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The thing about that is and how you have to see it from the prehistoric times, as I call it, or earlier times of how certain technology wasn't advanced with the material they used. So, for instance, in the Paralympics, they had like heavier wheelchair movement. It wasn't really functional as a way of being more fluid on the track field on. But as you get more and more like further into modern side of things, Roy Cooper, who was also an Olympian as well as now is a PhD in engineering, creates wheelchairs for other Paralympian athletes because for one, he already competed in the games and then he understands the fanatics that needs to go with having lighter type of material, carbon fiber, if anything, and then how that is now being accepted into the games as a form of technology of modern day, how Olympians and Paralympians can use basically updated equipment to create this high level of competition within the games.
It's all these things that people definitely don't think about when they're just tuning in to watch their favorite sport and cheer on their team.
Right.
Um, Referencing some of the images of your installations there in the building, you did speak a lot about technology and the technology, the evolving technology within curation being something that really interested you. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe one or two of your exhibitions and the sort of technology that is new and exciting being utilized there?
Yeah, so we also have an athlete map which captures all of the participating medal, non-medal athletes in the US. So anybody can come look anywhere in the US and see if they can find an athlete, Olympian or Paralympian from their area. That's an ongoing process as well too, keeping that data basically updated. We also created have a timeline from the history of the games from 1896 all the way to the present, where people can come and look at the timeline, what was going on athlete, what was part of the pop culture, what was going on in politics during the game. So that's another factor. People can really get like a fast feed of where we are now versus what was going on in the 60s or 70s during the games, even the protests of 1980 games. So things in that perspective. Also, another thing that we utilize is using holograms. So all of our Paralympic medals have been scanned 3D to give people the actual look of hologram, what it's looked like on a medal for us. But we also have it where people actually can feel, because some of the medals are made to be filled because of impaired visual. So athletes, so we have that where people can basically look at medals and feel them to see how that is too. So we have a different variety of ways of where the senses comes into the experience of the games, I should say. So Not that is something that we didn't want to do, but it's kind of amazing that we have different types of senses where people can get a touch or feel the games and how they were to athletes and Olympians and Paralympians experience during those games.
Absolutely, and especially the very mindful approach to the curation of some of those exhibitions, that you are showcasing the Paralympics, and you are also making everything as accessible as possible to any other potential future budding athletes who are coming to visit the museum as well. So that is an excellent innovation, I think.
Right. Yeah, we're very happy for it. And it's been really good just seeing the response or either the criticism we get, just to basically keep it on a level where people will feel comfortable actually using it. So yeah.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you for this amazing introduction to your institution. I'm definitely going to have to go ask my colleague who recently moved from Denver if she ever had a chance, when she gets back from vacation, if she ever had a chance to pop in and visit. And then I know we ourselves are always looking for opportunities to visit anyone that we've engaged with and visit new museums. And it just reminds me, one of the other partners that is taking part in this museum series is the new Olympic and Sports Museum in Doha, the 321.
Okay.
And they have also really done something very interesting. I didn't have a chance to visit yet, but my colleague was talking about from his trip to Doha. They have a very fascinating, engaging use of technology as well, whereby when visitors come, I'm going to butcher this because it's all secondhand, but they get something sort of like a Fitbit.
Okay.
And throughout the museum, they can charge it and let it sync up with various points and different exhibitions.
Right.
And it's something that they're using as an engagement factor to get people to come back, because then you can compare to former visits, like your health level, what you answered previously. So I think it very much feels like sports museums, because of the amount of innovation and technology that exists within your field and what you're showcasing. The museums then have a lot of freedom to be just as innovative and fun.
Right. And I think that's what was now kind of the new trend people are actually experiencing, is that, people are utilizing more like Fitbit, for instance. Like as soon as you said, like I already knew where they was going with it. So yeah, we're familiar with that. We have RFIDs in here right now, but I can see how the Fitbit will be more engaging, especially on having past and previous events, and you can update as you move forward. So that's cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for jumping on and speaking with us today about your event.